The Greek says, Talitha, come up. Child, little girl, get up. Her spirit returned and she got up at once. And then he directed them to give her something to eat. Yeah. Her parents were astounded. It says in other versions, the community was astounded. But he ordered them to tell no one what had happened. You know, when I was preparing this service, I discovered the idea for creating a day for children to honor their father began in Washington State. A woman named Sonora Smart Dye thought of the idea for Father's Day because everybody was making a big deal of Mother's Day. And so while she was at a Mother's Day sermon, she thought, my father raised me. So she said, he was courageous and selfless, and he was a loving man. So she started celebrating Father's Day. And that was in 1910, June, you know, his birthday was in June. And so President Coolidge, 14 years later in 1924, said the third Sunday of June is Father's Day. So now you know, and now that you know, I would like to go on record this morning to say a Christian man is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and unappreciated heroes of all time. Wow. And I should know because I'm married tomorrow. Today I would like to talk about the image of God. I had to put that in there, sister. I'm married to one of those unsung heroes. You know, this image is a picture, a copy, a likeness, or an idea of something or someone. And you know, on Mother's Day, I talked about an image of a mother. So Bethlehem, just bear with me because this is part 2. I'm talking about the image of a father. Yeah. When I was surfing the net, I came across a Father's Day photo album, and it was a collection of fathers and their children, and those photos had been sent by people who wanted to share them. And one picture was a man sitting with his children in a fishing boat, and in another, 2 fathers were with their children on the shore. Each of the fathers showed a father and his children smiling and happy. But at the same time, there were the surveys and discussion of the state of fatherhood. I was just reading the point of view where Reverend Swan says 70% of our children have absent fathers. But these photos were the ideal of what fatherhood should look like. The discussion brought up the realities of absentee fathers, realities of fathers who felt the need to devote themselves to their jobs or who were physically or emotionally isolated from their children. But today I want to share scripture that helps us see the real image of a father. Wow. The story of Jairus is a wonderful story about a father's love for his daughter. His daughter was 12 years old, the scripture, and she was dying. His fatherly love caused this Jewish religious leader to seek out Jesus. I imagine the parents had done all that they could, but all that they could was not enough. I imagine Jairus was feeling helpless as well as a great desire to do something, but he really didn't know what to do. I believe that Jairus was screaming inside for a healing for his daughter. He had gone out to seek the man who everyone was talking about. I imagine he had probably thought about what he was going to say. You see, he must have thought, how can I invite this man to come heal my daughter? But when we look at the scripture, it says he fell at Jesus' feet. Wow. You see, all the dignity and all the preparation made no sense when he came face to face with Jesus. There's no way to be dignified with tears streaming down your face and you're on your knees begging for help. Jesus had just returned from the east side of the Sea of Galilee. He had just released a man from demon possession. He was returning to Capernaum when Jesus when Jairus found him and pleaded, "Come help my daughter." Yeah. The Bible doesn't tell us how Jesus responded. All it tells us is that Jesus went with him. There was no appointment. There was no, I'll see you in a couple hours. Jesus went. Yeah. But Jesus is then surrounded by a crowd. The Father's heart must have been crying out as he was trying to make it through the crowd. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Yeah, yeah. You see, the clock was ticking, but Jesus was interrupted not only by a large crowd, but a woman who touched the hem of his garment. You know the story. But in this Jairus story, we don't know if Jairus saw the one from the synagogue coming to meet him, but we do know what they told him. It says, "Your daughter is dead, so don't bother the teacher." In other words, they were saying, he can't help you now. I've never lost a child, but I can imagine the pain that must have been more than Jairus could bear. One of these times, one of those times when you feel like your chest is caving in. Jairus' world must have caved in on top of him. He must have been so grief-stricken that he didn't know what to say or do. He looked at Jesus, maybe feeling that he was about to waste Jesus' time for nothing, but Jesus looked back at him and looked him in the eye and said, "Do not fear." Oh, wow. Only believe. And then Jesus ignored the men that told Jairus his daughter was dead. He went to the house, and there was weeping and mourning. You see, it was a small town. The word had